And in our final game of the divisional round, this right here is a shocker. We got the Buffalo Bills hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Bills hosting Chiefs. The reason it's a shocker, if you don't know, Patrick Mahomes has been in the postseason every season since 2018 when he became the starter, and this will be his first time playing a postseason game, not counting the Super Bowl, on the road. Besides the Super Bowl, he's always been at home, and he's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's always been at home in the playoffs, and this is his first time going on the road. And if you watch the way the Kansas City Chiefs play football this year, it's no surprise that they will be on the road. It's no surprise because they have not looked right all season. They've not looked right all season. Even the Bills early on didn't look right. When they were like 6-6 or something like that, fell all the way down to like 11th in the AFC. But the Bills, who are currently on a 6-game winning streak, counting their playoff win last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that 6-game winning streak, I should say, started against the Kansas City Chiefs early in the season. I don't remember exactly which week, but they beat the Chiefs 20-17, and that's when that streak started. I don't think they've lost. Let me look at that to be sure. I don't think they've lost a game since beating the Chiefs. Yep, beat the Chiefs back in week 14, 20-17, and they haven't looked right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, six games, and they haven't looked back since. Beat Kansas City, dominated Dallas, beat the Chargers, beat the Patriots, beat the Dolphins to win the AFC East, and then beat the Steelers in the wild card round last week. But back to the Chiefs. Again, there's a reason they're on the road. They haven't looked good. They haven't looked like the Kansas City Chiefs all season long. They haven't looked like the Chiefs. And you can trace it back, and I'm telling you guys about games that they haven't scored a touchdown, that they were held without a touchdown in the second half. And you can trace it all the way back to the season opener against the Lions. They won that game, but they were held to just 2 field goals. That was a season opener. Then week 4 against the Jets, they won that game, but they were held to just 1 field goal in the second half. Well, no, they lost the game against the Lions, pardon me. And then against the Broncos in week 6, they won that game, but they were held to just 2 field goals. And then against the Broncos again in week 8, 2 weeks later, they scored no points in the second half, and they lost that game 24-9. Against the Miami Dolphins, I think that game was in Frankfurt, Germany. They won that game, but they scored no points in the second half. This is not Kansas City-like right here. So this is why. If you want to know why they're playing on the road, this is why. Against the Eagles, Monday Night Football, they lost that game, and they scored no points in the second half. Against the Cincinnati Bengals, they won that game week 17, but they kicked 4 field goals in the second half. Against the Chargers in week 18, that one don't really count. They kicked 1 field goal in the second half, won that game, but the starters didn't play in that game. So they went 5-3 in those games. They went 5-3 in those games in which they didn't score in the second half, and they went 3 consecutive games being shut out completely in the second half. Think about that. Patrick Mahomes, 3 games in a row in which they had no points in the second half. No points at all. They had 5 games, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you can say I'm piling it on, but they had 5 games in which they scored just 1 touchdown in the second half. The proof is that. The proof is that this, you know what I'm saying? This is not a second half team this year. That's what I'm getting from this. This is not a second half team. And the Bills, Vegas is only giving the Bills 3 points at home. But the Chiefs are not a second half team. And that's the proof right there. I mean, you would really I would have to go back and see their second half stats from last season and years prior, but I can imagine it was not that bad. As bad as what we just reeled off. 3 straight games of 0 points in the second half. 3 straight. And they went 1-2 in those games. They beat the Dolphins because, like I said, they beat the Dolphins in the playoffs, and the Dolphins were not a legit team. They were just a fun team to watch. Fantasy football players. But they were never, to me, Super Bowl contending team. So, it's do or die for Josh Allen. Buddy, you cannot lose this game. You cannot lose this football game. You are at home. You are at home. You got Patrick Mahomes at home. Now, Mahomes has beaten Allen twice in the playoffs. Remember the AFC Championship back in 2020, I believe that was 2020. And then we remember the divisional round from 2 years ago when they came back with like 13 seconds to get the ball in position for a field goal. I mean, just a gut-wrenching, heartbreak, devastating, all the adjectives you can think of loss. Horrible loss. Well, you knew heads would roll after that L. I even question if Sean McDermott would come back after that. Because how do you give up that? How do you lose that game? So you didn't have an excuse for that game, but you really don't have an excuse for this one. You were at home. You got a Chiefs team who does not look like they belong here. They beat the Dolphins, but that was Miami. That was Miami. I got Buffalo winning this game. I'm not saying Kansas City is going to get blown out. They might get blown out in the second half where they get held pointless, but I got Buffalo winning this game because, and I know usually with me, it's until someone do it, I'm not picking against them. And I've always said that about the Patriots. Until someone wins that division, I'm not picking against the Patriots. The Bills won it. So ever since then, it's been Buffalo. But just looking at Kansas City and what we just talked about, the second half woes, and just looking terrible, you know what I'm saying, just in general, I got Kansas City falling to the Buffalo Bills in New York, in Buffalo, New York, and I'm going to take the Bills to win 27-23.